Bloody Jacob here to give you my thoughts on Dust Bunny. Dust Bunny came out in 2025 and is one of the final movies from that year I am making sure to scratch off. It was one I very much meant to see in theaters. Unfortunately, did miss the very brief window I had in my area there with work and some other things going on. But it's one I definitely wanted to make sure I seen. And of course, it stars Mads Mikkelsen. And is sort of a blend of like a fantasy verging on dark fantasy mixed with something like Leon the Professional, which is quite the curious genre mesh there. Also stars someone like Sigourney Weaver, David Desmalchin, who's been in things like Dexter Resurrection recently, Late Night with the Devil, a lot of things over the years. And basically, Mickelson is this kind of ominous dude who moves in next door to this younger girl. The younger girl is very fearful of this apparent like monster under her bed. That apparently eats her parents one night. So she ends up scrounging up some money via donation bin at church to try and hire Mads Mikkelsen to kill what's under her bed. And meanwhile, you have Mikkelsen, who's possibly connected to some sort of syndicate organization. And, kind of trouble with that comes raining down on him during that time as well. And the movie constantly plays with a little bit, okay, is this, like, actually going to be real? Is this going to fully lean into, like, that, fantasy, darkish side of it? Or is it going to be kind of like a play on, okay, what's going on in this girl's head because of, who she's lost and, her trauma with that, perhaps? Is this how it's, kind of manifesting itself? And then you have, of course, the core dynamic of him and who's never actually given a name in the movie. Even the credits, he's listed as Resident 5B. And she's Aurora, by the way. Their dynamic as they kind of slowly bind. There's even kind of like a bit of a funny reoccurring thing about how he pronounces Aurora with his accent, and she keeps correcting him. Just like little twinges like that between the two of them. It makes it, stick the way it does. And that Mads Mikkelsen I am a big fan of. I think he's one of the finest actors working of the last couple decades. Maybe of all time somewhere objectively, who knows. So I was really curious to see him in a movie like this. Like, the trailer kind of stuck out to me right away. And I gotta say, it was a pretty enjoyable experience overall. The CG's a little off when you see things more in the full light, but I think it's supposed to be like a little kind of out there, because it is, whether these things end up being real or not, whether there is this like dust bunny creature, it still kind of tries to capture like the sense of slightly silly, campy, childlike wonder, and it manages to fuse that well, with some of the violence going on around it. The movie is rated R, but you really don't see much of that. I'm not quite sure why it was. There's some like, I guess creature violence, and there's a bit of violence with Mickelson dealing with some goons earlier on, and something towards the later part. But I see it's been marketed as a horror movie in some places. Again, I'd say more like dark fantasy. It's not like an all-out horror movie, so do not go in expecting that. But it was a really enjoyable movie. Would I have paid as much attention if it wasn't Mickelson? Maybe not. But it is from Brian Fuller, of course, was behind Hannibal as well. So I guess this is maybe as close as we're going to be getting to an actual Hannibal follow-up at this point, who knows. But it was one that I think is a pretty solid surprise for 2025, and it's kind of odd that hasn't been getting more recognition, considering Mickelson, even, Weaver being in it. Weaver, by the way, is like a boss within the people that Mickelson works for. Yeah, it has like a nice like visual like editing and kind of camera style to it too, with how it transitions into different shots and stuff like that, and kind of just the camera work around that, especially when things kind of pick up in the later part of it. But yeah, I enjoyed it. If and when I do rate it on Letterboxd, I'd probably give it within that 3.5, 4 out of 5 range. And again, it'll probably be on the better half of my 2025 ranking that only I am waiting for. But yeah, when you guys seen this one, follow me on TikTok, of course, Twitter, Instagram,